What is up, everybody? My name is Alex, and welcome to the Cruisers Podcast.
Hey, Alex, I am Derek, and it's great to see you again this week, this Monday. We're excited to be back together and to share some different things with you on the Cruisers Podcast. We appreciate all of your support through the last couple of weeks. We have a lot of new faces around, a lot of people sharing questions and comments on our Facebook page, on our YouTube channel. This is the perfect time to get engaged. Alex and I are bringing all sorts of content to you every single Monday, and we have new content for you today. Alex, we started a new series last week. What'd you think about it?
I loved it. I learned something about the side-by-side cruises, which I think is just the coolest idea. I think I'm going to try it out myself.
Hey, it's pretty neat. It is. We talked about really what is the perfect cruise for you? How do you pick out your cruise? How do you decide which one is the right one for you? So we talked about that last week for just about an hour. If you have not watched that yet, be sure you go back and watch it. It was the first episode of a new series where we're talking about kind of the cruise process from beginning to end. There's nothing like booking that initial cruise. When you lay down that deposit, you feel good. Vacation has already kind of set in, even if it's far away. Today, though, we have an interesting topic to talk about. After you book your cruise, it's also an exciting time because you get to plan. Alex, what are we talking about today?
My favorite part of cruising, which is shore excursions and just getting ready for the cruise.
That's right. I'm excited about that.
The countdown, the countdown is one of the best parts of cruising, especially if you book months and months in advance. You have so much to look forward to and a lot of planning.
Yeah. It's really, honestly, I tell people this, and I really do mean it. Once you book a cruise and you have, it may be 50 days until your cruise, it may be 100 days, it could be 365 or more. But to me, the anticipation of the countdown, of the planning, to me, that is literally half the fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you guys are going on a cruise starting tomorrow, I
Yeah,
think, or you're
yeah.
leaving tomorrow, and
Sophomore.
I've got one coming up next month, and just the anticipation and the little surprises and little nuggets of information that you get about your specific sailing. It's just so much fun. There's Facebook groups that you can join for your specific sailing. There's my favorite, like I said a little bit ago, is the shore excursions portion of it is what are we going to do at port? So there's so much to do and lots of
That's
planning.
right. There is a lot to plan for. Some people enjoy the planning process. They love to research excursions. They love to research those price drops. They love to research how can I pay for my cruise in a more efficient manner. And some people don't like it. Some people, it's interesting, the dynamic. Some people like, they say, yeah, let's go on a cruise. And their significant other books it and they just lay back and chill the entire time. Amanda is really bad about that. She'll say, yeah, let's go. We book it, and then we get closer, and she's like, hey, where are we going again? Are you more of the planner type, Alex, or do you just kind of go with the flow? I booked it, whatever, we'll show up.
Well, I think I've been forced to be the planner part because I'm the cruiser in the family, just like you are, and everybody kind of depends on me to pick where we're going to go, what we're going to do, find two rooms together on this part of the ship. And I enjoy it. I do enjoy the planning portion. But it's funny, when I cruise solo, I'm kind of like Amanda. I just kind of show up and I just really go with the flow. But when I'm with my family, I want to make sure everything is absolutely perfect. Make sure we have the shore excursions booked. Everything is good to go. And so that there are no headaches along the way.
That's right. I love it. I love it. Let's talk about a few things from when you book your cruise to when you take your cruise. I think one thing on everyone's mind is how do we pay for the cruise? We've laid our deposit down and we do owe some money left. If you're cruising, it depends your cruise line, but sometimes, 7-day cruises, your money is due 90 days before. Shorter cruises, they're due 75 days before. But there are some ways that you can save money on your cruise, and there are some ways that you can save money by things you do to save money for your cruise. But a couple of things that I'll point out just from the onset here, because all of us enjoy cruising and all of us have to pay for it, believe it or not. Alex and I are asked all the time, or are told all the time, it must be nice to cruise for free. And I'm like, who
Yep.
who could share that? Because I can't share that. We're paying for our
Right.
cruises. But I do want
That's right. One way or the
that's
other.
right. I do want to share just some things to think about and consider. Be sure you're looking out for price drops. We have mentioned that before. Your travel agent should be doing that for you. pretty regular, but be sure that you're looking out for those. And then there's ways as well to pay for your cruise, to look for discounts. AARP, I know, is a big one with Carnival Cruise Line. You can save 10% on those gift cards. You have to pay it or buy them, purchase them through AARP. You don't have to have an active membership. You just have to have an account and sign up online. But you're able to save some money there on your cruise that way. There's also unique ways that people pay for their cruise as well. We've heard of all kinds of different ways, from an envelope system. If you
Yep.
have $1,000 that you need to pay on your cruise and you got 10 weeks to do it, you need to save $100, put the money in the envelope, right? Out of sight, out of mind. And then there's
Yep.
some things too, like there's people that have garage sales. Find some things around the house that you don't need anymore that you could sell, and that goes into the fund. The change jar is another one people use. Alex, what do you usually do, or do you hear of any other ways that people try to be smart and save some money for these trips?
Yeah, so one of the things that I do is I use Uplift a lot. A lot of people just don't want to pay everything all up front, whether you have the funds to or not. You just never know. Paying for a whole cruise up front can leave a pretty big dent in your pocketbook. And so I always utilize Uplift, and it's there are areas where you can have a percentage of financing or whatever where you owe more than what it's worth. Or if you do it like 6 months, you can do 0%. And I always do the one where there's 0% interest. And it's just nice to know that I'm going to go on the cruise. I'm not paying a nickel over what I owe for the cruise. But what's really cool is a couple of years ago on one of my solo cruises, I ran into, she's a friend of mine now. Her name's Carol Jones. And every year she takes her family, her kids and her kids' kids, all 12 of them, on a big family vacation every year. And what she does is she pays for it, but they don't get birthday presents. They don't get Christmas presents. They don't get
Oh, wow.
any other type of presents. And what she did this year is they took a big cruise to Alaska, and she used certain credit cards that she has, and paid for all of the airfare just by utilizing her points.
Awesome.
And so I'm not geeky enough to do it that way. But there are some people that literally travel for free just because they know how to manage their credit cards. I personally don't have any credit cards. They would get me in trouble. But people are really smart with how they use their finances and use credit cards to go on vacations and just use the
They really
points.
are. A couple of great call outs. Uplift is a great option. As Alex said, there are some avenues that are 0% interest. You just pay it out over 6 or 8 months. And then they provide maybe some longer range options, 10, 12 months to pay out your cruise with some financing. But for some people, that's right. They need that time to pay it off. And then, yeah, the whole credit card and points and membership enrollment and sign up bonuses. There's all kinds of content creators who create that. So if you like that kind of stuff, and you like the 60,000 points if you sign up for the credit card, which is equal to $800, you can look that up. If you're one of those people who use those, let us know, though, in the comments section. I am an American Express fan. I've been a member with them for well over a decade. It's more of a charge card, right? You charge it every month, you pay it off, but their point structure has been really good for me. And I use their platinum card, which gets me into those lounges as well. We're going to be in
Oh,
Chicago tomorrow,
nice.
and it's pretty nice to enter an airport and have lunch for free, have drinks for free, have your own internet network, have a space to work. And so some of those credit cards offer that space. But I can answer some questions if you guys have them. Leave them in the comment section. It's interesting to see, though, how people pay for their cruise. At the end of the day, we get it paid for because we are ready to go. But that's not the only thing that happens from when you book your cruise to when you go on your cruise. There's a lot of other things that happen, and we do want to spend some time on the show today talking about shore excursions. They are a hot topic all the time. I would venture to say that after someone books their cruise, the thing that they look at the most, they're worried about the most, their next biggest expense is shore excursions. Alex, what do you see across the industry? What do you see people do? How are shore excursions usually looked at by those who have booked their cruise and then they're waiting to go on their cruise?
Well, that's a great question. I know a couple of episodes ago we were talking about how expensive the shore excursions in
Oh,
Alaska
yeah.
are. And just if you're curious about that, go back. It's 1 or 2 episodes back. But those excursions can sometimes cost as much as your entire cruise fare. For me, I'm kind of a bargain shopper when it comes to shore excursions. Growing up, I've been on 29 cruises now. So I've purchased excursions through third parties. I've purchased excursions through the cruise line, but now I've been to these places multiple times. And so I shop around a little bit and try to find the best deal. Um, a lot of times the cruise lines have the best deal.
Yep.
And pro tip, if you're new to cruising or your first couple of cruises, please book your shore excursions through the cruise line because if you drink too much at the all-inclusive resort you go to, or you lose track of time because the time is an hour ahead or an hour before and you're not looking at ship time, the ships will leave
Oh yeah,
without
they're
you.
gone.
They've got 6,000 other guests on board, 5,000 guests on board that they have to get to the next port. And if you and your little family of four they're late, they're very sorry, but you're going to have to either meet them at the next port or fly home. So for me, I always shop around for the best deal for shore
Yep,
excursions.
you're right about that. That's a great pro tip for those first time cruisers. There's also certain ports of call that I encourage the same thing to take place. We love going to Jamaica. There's a lot of different things to do in Jamaica. Jamaica, for a lot of experienced cruisers, is a port of call. I say a port of call. They have three cruise ship ports of call there. But a lot of people don't necessarily like Jamaica, but there's some good options through the cruise line. So certain ports of call we also book through the cruise line. But I want to share a few things, just to think some things to consider. I know Alex will have some as well. Number one, some people are surprised when they book their cruise and they think, well, my food is included, I have some drinks included, my entertainment is included. There's so much included in the cruise price, and they feel good. Yes, one price. And then they look at shore excursions, and as Alex said, sometimes they are costly. And I've seen it. I see it literally every single day. Someone says, "Well, we booked a cruise, didn't we? At least we booked a 7-day cruise. We're not going to do anything at the ports of call. We're not going to get off the ship." And I'm like, "You just spent $4,000 booking your cruise, and you don't want to spend another like 500 or 600 to buy your shore excursions. Like your airfare is $2,000. You spent 6,000. Your hotel
Yeah,
before your car. You've spent all this money, and you don't want to spend just a little bit more to enjoy yourself. So I encourage you, if you're going on a cruise that has 2, 3, 4 ports of call, at least pick one of those to splurge on. Do something for yourself. That's why you're going to cruise anyway, to visit these locations. Go snorkel. Go lay on the beach and have someone serve you ice cold drinks and fajitas all day. Go do those things. And it's easy to say don't worry about the money, but reward yourself at least one of those. If you need cheaper options for the other 2, 3 ports of call, there are cheaper options. Alex has a community on Facebook. If you're not following him, be sure you do it. He shares all kinds of different posts daily, and people in the comments share their experiences as well. We have a community on YouTube, on Facebook as well. If you're cruising somewhere, let's say that you're going to St. Martin and you need something that's cheap. Hey, I want to spend $25 a person. There are options. Go to Maho Beach, take a taxi. It's free to get on the beach. But be sure, pick out one excursion, splurge on it, and then ask for some help for those other ports of call. Go do something. Go explore while we still have health and we can do it.
absolutely. You bring up a very good point about people asking in Facebook groups, what is there to do? What I love about these Facebook groups, whether it's my personal page if you follow me, or if it's Derek's page, there's other pages with 300,000 members in
Yes.
it. And if you just post, hey, what is there to do in Cozumel? You're going to get personal pictures and personal opinions from
Yeah.
hundreds of people that tell you exactly what to do. Hey, we were just here last week. You have to go to Mr. Sancho's. Or, hey, I just booked with Resort for a day. We went to Iberostar in Cozumel. It was this much money. I had this drink and the beach looked exactly like this post Hurricane Barrel.
Yeah.
You can get live opinions and reviews right then and there. But I will encourage you, if you are in places like Jamaica, even Honduras, when I was in Roatan back in April, I've noticed that the locals are becoming pretty aggressive with trying to sell their stuff. I'm sitting on the beach and I've told them no repeatedly. And this is whether you book with the cruise line or not. You just need to do your research and figure out where you want to go. But it's like, I've told you 100 times in the last 5 minutes, I don't want a massage. I don't want to buy your necklace. I don't want the hat. I don't want the tamales. I and I feel bad. And Derek, I
You
do. I
do.
feel really bad for saying this because I know I know they need to make a
Yeah,
living as well.
yeah,
But it's harassment after a while. And look, I am all about supporting the local artists. Everything behind me, other than the two pictures I took with my camera, I love buying local artwork at the stops I go to. That's my thing. I don't buy shot glasses or necklaces. I buy local pieces of art.
I love it.
And if you're selling that on the beach, I'll buy it from you. But I told you no already. I don't want to buy your necklace or your hat.
Yeah,
And like I said, I feel bad for saying it, but I want to enjoy my beach
that's
day,
right.
And how do you feel about that?
No, I'm in agreement with you. And like you said, I respect these people for getting out and working. They're walking. They're usually carrying, it could maybe 10 pounds, 20 pounds worth of stuff. They're at the end of the day trying to work. But no does mean no in whatever context. If
Hmm.
it's, hey, can I have this extra brownie that I get asked by my kids all the time? No, you can't have that. No. Or
Yeah.
if it's a situation like this, hey, sir, do you want this? No, I don't want it. That should be taken as no, and of course move on because someone else will say yes eventually. And so I'm right there with you. I am. I do want to spend just a little bit of time talking about this because it is a hot topic in the excursion world. Do you book through the cruise line or do you book independently? Alex has already given you a preview of first time, second time cruisers. Until you learn the ropes a little bit, book through the cruise line. Nothing is wrong with it. Matter of fact, most cruise lines now have those price guarantees. Uh,
Hmm.
Alex, you probably remember back in the day, cruise line excursions were very much more expensive than third party excursions. And today, somewhat they still are. But most cruise lines, Royal
Yeah.
Caribbean, Carnival, they offer that guarantee where if you book a snorkeling excursion, let's say it comes with a free lunch and two stops. And with Carnival, you pay $60 a person. If the a snorkeling excursion is offered with two stops and lunch, for $40, you can submit an online form and say, here's what I've booked, here's what I see, here's the website, here's proof it's the same day that I'm going. And Carnival will not only match their price, but give you 110% of the difference as onboard credit. So they really are. Cruise lines are trying to compete with third parties, but sometimes excursions are still maybe more full. The catamaran holds 100 people instead of a private excursion. Maybe it holds 25 people, and so there are
Yeah.
benefits for both. But from my point of view, and I know Alex has one too. Do your research. That's what it comes down to. If you're in Cozumel and you want to go snorkeling, and you look on TripAdvisor and you look on Resort for a Day and you look at all the stuff, and you finally find a company that has 4,000 reviews and it's 4.8 stars. And all the reviews talk about how good the customer service is, how they meet you at the pier, and how they go on your trip and they take you right back, and all this. You're probably going to be okay. Nothing's probably going to
Yeah.
happen. These people know that their livelihoods, their jobs depend on this. And if they don't get you back in today's world of social media, it's going to be blasted everywhere. Their business is going to be ruined. And so they're
Yeah.
going to get you back. So, Alex, what do you think about this cruise line versus third party? What guidance do you give some of our viewers?
I would say if you are really nervous about making it back to the ship on time, please book with the cruise line because if you book through the cruise line and let's say you're in Jamaica and a big storm comes through and a road's closed because of a car accident and you're on the bus with 100 other cruise ship passengers. If you're 2 hours late getting back and the ship is supposed to leave at 6 p.m. and you get back at 8 p.m., that ship is not going to leave
Yep.
without you. That's if you book with the cruise line. Now, if you book through a third party and you're in the taxi cab, uh, you know, another hour back, they're going to leave you. It's just that's the guarantee I really
Yeah.
like. And there are certain places where I will only book with Carnival because I know transportation can be a little sketchy, and I want to make sure I get back on the ship because XYZ is not a place I want to be stuck at overnight.
Exactly right. Yep. Yeah. Trust your instincts. Trust those reviews. Don't push the limits. If you're in port for 8 hours, don't go book a 6 hour third party excursion. Don't do it. You book a three
Right.
hour, okay, you're probably going to be okay. But use your best judgment. Always plan to get off the ship early. Always choose the early time. That gives you enough time on the back end to get back. And I will also share this other guidance with you. If you book through a third party and for some reason the port of call is missed for weather, for whatever it may be, there's a lot of third party companies that will not give you your money back. It will when you book, it will say that this is non refundable. Whereas if you book with a cruise line, they're going to give you your money back if for some reason you don't make that port of call. And so I see this weekly where someone gets back from their cruise, a port of call was missed because of high winds, the ship could not dock. They had a third party excursion that cost $290 total. They
Mm.
could not take it. They have reached out to this third party. The third party has said, "We're not giving you your money back. Look at our website." They're very clear. And they say, "Derek, I need your help. I need you to step in here." That's not going to work. You can't call Big
Yeah.
Brother and say, "My big brother's going to come get you." They're not going to give you money. So keep that in mind. If you're cruising during hurricane season, if you're cruising to ports or itineraries that have bad weather, Alex has mentioned Alaska. There's other ports of call, especially in the Caribbean. If you have high winds, you're not gonna make it. It's not gonna happen. And so
Yeah.
keep your eye on that, and be sure too that if you're booking through third party for some itineraries, you're taking a risk.
Definitely read the fine print. No matter what time of the year you sail in, ask them up front, what is your policy on
Yeah,
refunds? And they will probably be happy to tell you and show you what their policy is, because you do not want to, especially during hurricane season, you do not want to lose hundreds of dollars just because of the ship wasn't able to make it into port.
that's right. That's right. Ask for that policy. Get it in writing. Although there's still no protection, you have a leg to stand on.
Right.
Also, I'll point out this as well. These tour operators, they want you to book. They want to get you booked. If you're going to a place that sometimes has missed ports, ask to pay a reduced fee. Don't pay everything up front. Hey, can I pay $25 down per person and pay the rest when I get there? They might say yes. They want to sell out, and they know
Yeah.
you're serious if you're sending your $25. So then you don't have to send, let's say, the whole $95 per person. I'm just going to send my 25. Is that okay? A lot of times they will say yes. So be sure that you ask those things as well. Shore excursions are fun. It's one reason why we travel. Be smart about those, as they can make your trip. They can also break your trip. So be sure you think about those. Let's move on to talk
Yeah.
about something else, Alex. There's all kinds of things that's kind of in this time period when we book our cruise and before we go on our cruise. Another thing that I think about are onboard activities, which used to, like, it was so easy to get into specialty dining. Let's talk about that one for just a second. You
Yeah.
didn't have to book before. You didn't even have to pay before. You could just reserve it online. You pay when you get there. You could get on the ship and go to Fahrenheit 555
Hmm.
if you wanted to. No problem. But for some reason, something has changed post COVID. Not only do you have to pay up front for these restaurants, but they sell out. They absolutely sell out.
It's
It is
insane.
crazy. It is crazy. Uh, I would say the average cruiser now, it's almost a hallmark that each cruiser kind of goes like to at least one specialty dining restaurant on a 7 night cruise. Is that kind of what you see?
Yeah, well, and normally what we've always done in the past, especially if we have a big family, like I'm going with my family of six next summer on the Jubilee, it would be expensive to go out even just one night,
Yeah.
$49 a person. But if I go with a smaller group, like when I went with my grandparents back in April, we went to two specialty dining restaurants. We went to the Fahrenheit 555 and then um, Rudy Sea Grill, which was 10 out of 10
Oh
recommend.
gosh,
But
yes.
it really elevates the experience, and it's only $49 a person, but the food is worth over $100. I mean, just the way they
Yeah.
really wine and dine you. They always give you something compliments of the chef. It just really elevates the experience, and I'm all
Yeah.
for it.
I agree. I agree. And I mention it because these restaurants sell out. Some people will wait till 45 days, 30 days, 10 days before their trip, and they'll log on to book one of these and they sell out. If you know you want to go, here's the pro tip. I know I want to go to Rudy's. I know I want to go to Bonsai Teppanyaki. Go ahead and book it. Pick the day and time you want. That's an important thing. You don't want to go, a lot of people, myself, I don't want to go the on a formal night at 8:30 p.m. I want to go at 5:30
No.
one night, the first crew of the night, and I want to pick the night. Maybe it's a menu that I don't like, one of my least favorite menus. I want to go that night. Go ahead and book it. Book it up front. You have to pay for it, but these are refundable. If at any time
Yeah.
you say, you know what, oh my gosh, flights are more expensive. The hotel was $350 instead of the $150 I thought. I'm not working as much. I need some money back. You can always cancel these reservations before your cruise, and you get every single penny back. So if you think you want to go, book it. Book it up front, pay for it. You will probably end up going and enjoying it. But if you have to cancel, you get your money back. That's a pro tip.
Yeah, and for me, I always try to book my reservations for earlier in the cruise. A lot of times, if you go to Fahrenheit 555, or I think it's any of the other specialty dining restaurants, on the very
Yep.
first night, they always will give you a free bottle of wine or 50% off of a
Yeah.
specialty wine or
Yep.
something like that. So that's an added benefit there, and also the more and more people gamble on these ships, they're giving out free vouchers for the steakhouse all the
Yep.
time. So towards the end of the cruise, a lot of those reservations are going to book up really, really quick. So if you want to go, book it early and book it earlier in the cruise, the first couple of
That's right.
nights.
That's right. Great advice there. If you have a big party, we had 6 people, 8 people. We had 8 people on the March cruise on the Jubilee the first night. And of course, you're supposed to get a bottle of wine. And if you have a bigger party, we were like, do we get a bottle of wine per couple or how does that work? But we had 8 people. And the manager was like, "Oh, well, no, we'll take care of you. You get free wine. You get free wine." They ended up giving us 6 bottles for 8 people.
Oh my gosh.
So again, just use the leverage you have. It never hurts to ask a question. They want to wine and dine you. They want to kick off your cruise to a great start. And so look at those things before your cruise. Get that day, get that time that you want so that you have it. And I'll also mention in the same breath, make sure you're booking those drink packages, those internet packages across the industry. If you will purchase these things up front, you get a discount on them, 10%, 20%, things like that. Alex, I know both you and I were utilizing the internet. A lot of times also we buy Cheers or buy that drink package, but
Hmm.
10% adds up when you're talking about $800.
Yeah. Yeah. And that internet, man, I don't even want to know how much it's going to cost in a year from
Yeah,
now. It is insanely expensive. And so you have to book this stuff before the cruise to save any kind of money.
that's right. That's right. I wanted to mention as well, transportation is a huge thing. How do I get from the airport to the cruise port? How do I get from my hotel to the cruise port? I want to mention just a few things here, a few guidelines. I know Alex has some as well. A couple things I want to mention. Number one, if you're driving to the cruise port, I see this all the time, and I may be in the minority here, Alex. Let me know. I do not want to leave my car at a park and stay hotel for they may have a $50 package, a $70 package, where you park your car out back. There's no fence back there,
Hmm.
but there's lines on the concrete. You can park your car. There's no fence. There's no lights. We don't really watch it. They're just kind of back there. People
Yeah.
don't consider that. They think I get emails all the time. Be sure when people cruise out of Galveston that they can park their car at the Holiday Inn for only $20. They can leave their car. And then I will always respond and say, well, what is that? What's a parking lot look like? Is it fenced in? Is there security? Is there lighting? Is there
Yeah.
video cameras? No, no, no. It's just a parking lot. No. Leave your valuable car at some reputable place. It doesn't have to be with the port. It can be with somewhere independent. But be sure that you protect your assets there and don't just leave it in the wide open.
Yeah, you're 100% on point. For me, I always book with the Port of Galveston because I know um, they're the only parking company that is number one owned by the port, and two, it's patrolled by port police
Yes, it
24/7.
is.
I personally parked at third party vendors right across the street from the terminal. Really great indoor parking, outdoor parking, phenomenal people. It just I like to know that my car is going to be in one piece when I get off that ship in a week, because there's nothing worse getting off the ship. You're exhausted. You have to drive 5 to 10 hours home, and then to find out your windshield's, your
Yeah,
car's been broken
yeah,
into. Um, and it's been a week since it's happened, and it's rained, and now your car's just
yeah.
trashed. So Yeah, I like to park where there's people patrolling and where there's security
Yeah, let's
cameras.
get some fencing, let's get some lighting, let's get some video, let's get some patrol. Again, I may be in the minority, but I don't want to come back like you said. And there was before COVID, I think 2018 or 19, there was a span where there were a lot of break-ins, like smashed
Hmm.
in passenger side windows.
Yep.
I think out of New Orleans and some other places as well. Protect your assets. Again, some of you may crawl all over me about that, but I wanted to mention that, and I want to mention a couple other things too about transportation. If you're flying in to your cruise, there's different transportation methods, right? Some home ports are very close to an airport, 10 or 12 minutes away. Don't be afraid to use an Uber or Lyft. They're in every major city. You can use that to get from the
Hmm.
airport to your hotel to the terminal. You're just fine. There's a generation, a couple of generations older than Alex and I, who think that you have to book a private transportation, a private car only for you, and you can do that if you want to, of course. And it's a better route, for instance, out of Galveston. You fly into Houston Hobby or Houston Bush. You've got a 45-minute or an hour for Bush, a little over an hour drive. Yeah, you might want Galveston Saltwater Moms or some private company to pick you up
Hmm.
so that you know that it's solidified, it is there. But whenever it's just 10, 20 minutes away, don't be afraid to use some of those ride share programs. I get that question all the time. How do I get from LAX to Long Beach? Take an Uber, for $30 for take an Uber. And so I wanted to share that as well. Trust those services. They're very reputable. There's a bad apple every now and then, but they are very, very reputable. I know I use those, and Alex, I'm pretty sure you do too.
Absolutely. And also, like we've been talking about with excursions, is if you have time, shop around. I was blown away with what I'm about to tell you. Whenever I was getting off my second cruise in Alaska a couple of weeks ago, um, I see all the private drivers and I see all the Ubers lined up, and then I see the long line of yellow cabs.
Mm.
And I get on Uber. My friend Jennifer gets on Lyft, and we're like, it's going to be $75 to get an Uber or a Lyft to the airport.
Oh,
And then the people that were working at the port said, take a yellow cab. It's going to be $20 cheaper, and they're ready to go right now. I have been told for the past however long Uber and Lyft have been out that yellow cabs are going to be 15-20% more expensive, and a lot of times they
yeah,
are. But Uber and Lyft know when peak times are, and they will jack up those prices because they know you're going to pay it.
yeah.
So if you've got Uber on one side and Yellow Cab on the other, just go ask Yellow Cab how much it's going to cost. And I guarantee you it might be a little bit cheaper.
That's right. That's right. Great point there to call out. Transportation is super easy. Don't make it more difficult than it has to be, of course. We've got to get it from place to place, but be sure that you research before, book if you can for those private transportation. If not, use Uber or Lyft. They will help you get around most definitely. Alex, there are so many things that we can mention when we talk about planning before our trip. Both you and I are planners. Those are the major things to look at, though. We've mentioned those on the show today, and we want to ask all of you who are watching us, what are some things that you look at? How do you plan for your cruise? How much energy and effort do you put forth in making sure that everything is set up, everything is lined up, and everything is ready to go? Share how you plan in the comments section below, whether you're on Facebook or whether you're on YouTube. We would love to see and hear from you. Alex, next week is going to be fun. We're talking about Embarkation Day. Probably the second greatest day. Maybe the embarkation may
Yeah,
beat booking the cruise. So,
the greatest day ever.
yes, no matter how many times you do it, Embarkation Day is
Yep.
special, and we were talking about it next week. So we hope that you join us then. For now, I am Derek.
And I'm Alex.
Thanks for watching
Thank you for listening to
the
the
Cruisers.
Thanks for listening to the Cruisers podcast.